Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Mid-American Gardener. I'm your host, Tanisha Spain, and as always, joining me are two of our panelists who are here to answer your questions and tell you a little bit about what they've been doing out in their garden. So let's have them introduce themselves. Kay, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'm a Champaign County Master Gardener, and my areas of expertise, I guess, are vegetable gardens and herbs, and I grow a lot of flowers also. Yeah, That's
Okay. And in the very cool hat, uh, tell us a little bit about you and your hat.
My name is Kelly Allsup. I'm a horticulture educator based out of Bloomington. My expertise is integrated pest management, which means I know how to kill insects. However, I say this all the time, I spend more of my job promoting insects like beneficial insects and pollinators. I did decide to dress up today with my cactus beanie to celebrate Halloween, which is a really cool holiday,
It is
right?
a cool holiday, and that kind of lends itself
Yeah.
right into your show and tells. You picked
Yeah.
the creepy batch,
I
right?
I know. Usually when it comes to Halloween, I like talking about bats and spiders, but I do want to talk about some carnivorous plants that
Mhm.
have this creepy Halloweeny vibe. The first one is called Venus flytrap. I'm going to try to take down my camera and show you that what happens is these plants live in a bog. So they don't absorb nutrients through their roots. So how have they adapted? They've adapted to where they actually capture insects to get those micronutrients they need to make their food. So you look at the Venus flytrap, he's open. Okay, now I'm going to put my finger in the inside and rub him, and he's going to close. So you saw he closed.
Wow.
So if I were an insect, he would have closed up on me, and then he would absorb that insect through that pitcher, that Venus flytrap, and absorb that nutrients. Another one, let me show you over here,
That was
is
very cool,
called
very cool.
is called pitcher plant, and they have these pitchers on them. Again, it's the same concept. They live in bogs. They can't absorb any nutrients through their roots, so they absorb it through the plants. What the insect does is it gets trapped in this pitcher, and it goes to the bottom and absorbs it. And so these can grow really rather big and actually digest pretty large animals like frogs or even birds. Um, and so they're just a really cool kind of creepy looking plant to have. Now, I grow these in the greenhouse. They're a little temperamental. Sometimes I call them, my temporary plant because they grow in bogs, they don't like our water. They want a water without any elements in it, no fluoride, and they might want, reverse osmosis water, which is something we do in the greenhouse. So I'm going to try to keep them alive this time, and I'm going to use rainwater to water them. That way I'm not, giving them elements they don't need from our drinking water.
So if I were to go buy one of these at, a box store or a department store, do you, I guess I never knew, should you be buying a certain, like, is it distilled? What type of water would you buy for them to bring
Yeah,
them
I
home?
would use a distilled water, not a drinking
Interesting.
water, a distilled water, because they don't have those elements in them. We think about it, we pump our water full of fluoride, right? We
Hmm.
wouldn't have teeth if we didn't pump our water full of fluoride. Thank you for pumping our water full of fluoride. We wouldn't have Tanisha's beautiful smile with those that they'd
Thanks,
be
Mom and Dad, for my dental bills.
right. But you can thank your water source too, right?
Yes.
Daily fluoride. But that plants do not like that. Ooh, no, no, no. They
Interesting.
don't like that. They
Interesting.
don't like those additions that we add to our water. So sometimes what we do in the plant world is we'll let water sit over, and some of those elements will evaporate out, or we might do the rainwater that has less of those types of things in it, and then the distilled water. And I do this for really particular plants, like orchids really are very sensitive to our water, and plants like this. Now, just my average house plant, I'm going to water it normally. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to sit here and do special water, but these I kind of want to keep going. I know if I
See,
water them with tap water, they're going to be dead.
well, we will have to check in with you in the coming months or over the winter to see if they are still in the fight and
Yes,
if you've
thank you.
managed to keep them alive. All right, Kelly, thank you. All right, Kay, we're going to go to you with your first show and tell item.
Okay, this is about the time of the year to plant garlic. So when you plant garlic, so this is the bulb, and if I can get it up here, okay, there we go.
A little bit higher. Hold that one up a little bit higher. There we go.
And this is the clove.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's good. Good.
Okay.
Right there.
Perfect.
So the clove is what you want to plant. You want to split the bulbs or the cloves off of the bulb. You want to try and retain this kind of papery coating on it. And then you plant them with the fat end down, and you want to plant them about 3 or 4 inches deep. And so I just dig a good trench and plant them, and then put a handful of compost or some kind of, soil in it, and then cover them up. And that's what all you do. You want them 4 inches apart in the row, and the rows about 4 or 5 inches apart. You also, once they're planted, I cover them with a nice thick cover of either straw or dried grass clippings. And then that'll keep, and then in the spring they'll come up. And you plant them, traditionally you plant them in October, and because they're harvested in July, and then you let them dry and cut the bulbs off of the stems, and then keep them. So I usually keep the biggest cloves for planting, because the bigger the clove, the larger the bulb's going to be. And there's tons of different varieties of garlic. I grow usually 7 or 8 different varieties.
I was going to mention when we visited Chuck out at his place, we did kind of a lesson about garlic, and he taught us about hard neck and soft neck. So which do you prefer? Do you grow both, or?
I grow both. I really kind of prefer the soft necks, but I have some of each. So yeah, there's quite a lot of varieties. Some have the covering is kind of red, and others are real white, and some are large and some are small. This one happens to be a pretty good size one. You can see those cloves are really large.
And so when you're cooking, do you choose a certain variety for a certain dish that you're thinking of, or are there subtle flavor differences?
Not really. There's really not a lot of flavor difference. It's mostly the size. So if I need a lot of garlic, I'll take the big cloves and chop them up. And if I don't need much. And to preserve them, you can also dry them if you have like a dehydrator. And I saw recently where you could dehydrate them and then grind them up for garlic powder, which I do use a lot. I haven't tried that yet, but that's on the wish list.
Yeah, a little adventurous, Okay, all right, thank you, Kay.
Every time I go to the farmer's market, I've gone to the farmer's market this last couple of weeks, there's garlic everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I love buying garlic from the farmer's market because, I recently discovered that it tastes very different. The taste is so much richer. and
Yeah.
so much nicer than any soft neck garlic that you can buy in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And so I love going to the farmer's market. And those ones that you buy from the farmer's market can also be planted too, right, Kay?
Sure. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think sometimes the grocery store ones are treated,
Mhm.
so you can't plant them. They won't, sprout the roots and the little sprouts. So,
Mhm.
but yes,
Awesome.
anything, I mean, it's like a lot of produce that's a lot better at the farmer's market or
Agreed. Nice plug for the farmers market, Kelly.
I know. Hey, I remember the first time I tried it and I was like, whoa,
This is a
this is
game
some
changer.
garlic. Maybe I should have used 4 cloves in this dish.
It'll
But
clear your sinuses.
There you go. There you go.
but
All right.
where you normally would use 4 cloves from the grocery store, you could use 1 or 2 from the farmer's market, but the flavor is hands down better. It's just like tomatoes, hands down better.
Yeah. Yeah. Just one of those things. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, Kelly, we're back to you. Do you have any more creepy plants?
I mean, I have a few more, the black ZZ plant, how I'm always talking about these really trendy, super trendy plants. I just think we decided through the pandemic that we wanted to, have plants around us. And, it really does improve our moods. Um, think about it. If you're miserable, if you have a miserable, I'll rephrase that. Think about if you have a home office now, I mean, you're working from home. Think about putting some of these cool plants around your office, and it will make you feel better instantly. I guarantee it. I have plants everywhere. I love looking at them. I love taking care of them. So I'm like, and then I can't stop myself from buying new ones because I'll see it on Instagram and I'll be like, I have to have that. Here's one. Here's 2 that I just bought and I'm experimenting with. This one's called, let's see if I can get it, String of Needles.
String of needles.
And
Those
this
are
one's
always
called
notoriously very delicate.
String of Hearts.
Pretty. Oh, that's gorgeous. Very dainty.
And so there's like string of bananas out there, string of dolphins. And so, I mean, I'm just, just fascinated by the way that they grow really long, and just a unique looking plant. So, I used to be really into jungle cactus. I'm still am, but I'm starting to go into some more types of, now I'm into string of everything. So,
And now, like I tell my husband, there are worse things to be addicted to,
I know.
right? I
I
feel
know.
like I'm scrubbing the air at our house. I'm improving the mood. Every time I walk in the door with a new plant, they should be more appreciative about what I'm trying to do for this family.
I I have 4 pairs of shoes, right? 4 pairs.
Yeah,
Most
reasonable.
women have more than 4 pairs. Let's be honest.
I agree.
Now, now I
Any
have
excuse.
now I have 400 plants.
Yes, but they could always be worse. It could always be worse. So,
Most women don't have 400 plants, but
well,
I
think
bet
of
my
how
plants are
clean the air
deeper and
is.
cooler than your shoes.
There you go. There you go. There you go. All right, we're going to go to some questions now. Kay, let's do a question for you. This is right up your alley. This is from Nancy Albert. She writes in from Oriana, Illinois, and wants to know what type of mushroom this is that they found in their yard. So we're going to get a picture of that. This is Nancy's question. And then what do you think this mushroom is?
Well, I talked to my husband, who's actually the mushroom expert, and he looked at it and he thought he knew, but he's not sure. So I'm going to ask our viewers, when they take pictures of mushrooms, take one of the top like this one is, but also the underside of it and the stem, because those 2, in addition to the top, are crucial for identifying mushrooms. And there's a few, you never want to eat a mushroom that you haven't identified for certain, because you might get a bad one. the one he thought this is edible, but he didn't want to make it definite because he cannot tell for sure. So that's just kind of, and this year has been a crazy year for mushrooms. They've been growing in our yard, stuff we had never had before. And other people I talked to also, and of course, he hunts them in the woods and is finding all kinds of stuff that he hasn't seen before. And so
I would have to agree with you, Kay. It's been a even my parents who never really get mushrooms, they had like rings and they had some
oh
growing in
yeah,
mulch and they have just been everywhere. Is it just because we've got, is it been moist?
I think it's the moisture.
Yeah.
At
Kelly's nodding,
at the
yes.
right time.
Yes.
And another thing with mushrooms, even if you get it correctly identified and it's edible, the first time you eat a mushroom that you've not eaten before, you don't want to eat very much of it because some people, some mushrooms will affect people differently. And you can really get sick, even though it's not poisonous. It can react with your digestive system and make things pretty miserable.
Gotcha.
So we always, when we get a new mushroom, we just eat a little bit of it the first time. And then if, there's no problems, then of course you can eat all you want, but.
Just make sure it agrees first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Kelly, I've got a couple pictures I want to show you. These are from actually my neck of the woods. I went out and bought a couple of these insect motels or hotels or whatever the industry term is. And I hung them up a couple years ago, didn't get any action. And I remember we were talking and you said some of these weren't built for the insects in mind. It was more sort of a gimmick. And then finally this year, we've got some takers. So you're the bug expert, so tell me who we've got visiting and what to expect in the spring.
Well, you probably have round nesting cells in there, and those are bees that are actually either nesting in the spring or overwintering. You really want those to be different sizes so they attract different bees, and they really have to be 6 inches deep for them to be pretty effective. But then Tanisha wants to, change those out every season, perhaps in early winter before they start nesting in the spring. Once they've come out, of course. So there's like that kind of that time period, late spring, late winter, early spring, where you do want to change them out because you don't want them to have a disease problem and then that be a future potential disease issue. So
good to know.
Just know that this is not a static thing. This is something you're going to have to redo every year, especially when it comes to the tubes for the bees. But, other things within this picture, there'll be little boxes, or you'll do like little leaves or sticks or moss or something like that, where it really is for other beneficial insects, perhaps like a spider or some parasitic wasp. That some parasitic wasp, overwinter underneath tree bark. So when you think about all these butterflies and bees that we're trying to save, right, by planting flowers, we don't understand how they overwinter in the landscape. And what we do is we do these very harsh things to them. For instance, one thing that we should never do is clean up the landscape in the fall. By creating this little insect hotel, she's kind of mimicking how we should mimic nature. We should have things of, open stems and wood and leaves and all of this stuff laying around because it helps these insects overwinter. So it's really kind of it is kind of gimmicky, but if you manage it correctly, it can be very beneficial. There's more research coming out. It's still a very new product, Tanisha, and they're talking about, how bumblebees use it, and I'll see some stuff about some beneficial insects, but it's still not like this, and you will get this, and this. I still think it's still out there. I think it's fun to experiment, but you're teaching yourself in a way, right, Tanisha? By having an insect hotel, that there are lots of things overwintering outside in your backyard. And so that's, if you could mimic that in nature, where you don't clean up all the leaves, where you don't trim down all the plants, where you leave those up throughout the winter, that way we're contributing to wildlife habitat. And so that's what an insect hotel is. It's basically telling everybody, hey, did you know that insects overwinter here in Illinois?
Yes.
They don't fly to Florida.
They don't overwinter.
And they would really like it for you not to clean the landscape bare and put them on the side of the road for pickup, right? They want to live there.
Good information.
It's a really cute idea, Tanisha, and I would keep going with it. I just would, I would replace those bee tubes after the winter.
Okay, will do. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. I want to go back to another question we're going to do. It's an insect question. This is for Kelly, number 60. This is from Pennis Harris. She wants to know if Penny Harris, she wants to know if this is a wasp, or I'm sorry, a hornet.
Yeah, it's a European hornet. I think she wants to know if it's the murder hornet versus
the $1 million question.
European hornet. I don't even have to know how to identify a murder hornet. I know that they're not here. If they were in Illinois, believe me, we'd know. It was a internet sensation, this murder hornet thing. They just went crazy with it, but it's not affecting Illinois. They're not here. They're in Washington, and they're doing different things to prevent them from spreading around. What the big news was murder hornets attack honeybees and they kill the bees, and we don't want murder hornets in Illinois to kill our bees, right? The bees have enough problems on their own. They don't need more murder hornets coming in, but we don't have murder hornets.
Okay. So
Illinois doesn't have murder hornets. As soon as they do, we'll let you know, but it was just this media frenzy sensation. I think Kay probably knows when it came out. It was, the pandemic. We were like, murder hornets. Now everybody sees a hornet and they think it's a murder hornet.
It's a murder hornet automatically.
If you live in Illinois, it's a European hornet, not a murder hornet.
Noted. Okay. All right. Kay, I wanted to circle back and ask you, have you planted any spring bulbs yet? We just talked about the garlic, but have you put anything else in the ground yet?
No, but a friend of mine gave me some tulip bulbs and I really need to get them out pretty soon. So I will be doing that as soon as it dries up a little bit. And
yes.
I'm not digging in mud.
Any tips there when you're putting those bulbs in the ground? Do you put compost in the fall? And sort of how do you set them up for success when you plant them in?
Well, you want to plant them, I think, a couple of times, the height of the bulb. And it depends on what the bulb is. She gave me tulips and they're big ones, so they'll go a little deeper. I just read recently a thing that said you could put your big bulbs down deep and then the little ones like crocuses and things like that on top of them. So you'd have 2 layers and they would bloom, either separately or else they bloom together, but so it would look really nice.
Awesome. All right, Kelly, we've got 2 minutes left, so probably time for one more question. Let's do number 65. This is from Robin Wolf. She says, I recently found what looks like the shells of hundreds of tiny insects on the floor of my garden shed. Searched the internet, and the only thing I could find was a picture from someone on Reddit who was trying to identify them but didn't have any luck. I've enclosed some pictures that shows you a portion of the floor. Any idea what these are? So she's writing this in from Normal. So we know you are the bug lady. What are these?
I had an idea of what these were, but I didn't know for sure. They are not bugs. I know that for sure. So what I did is I used my iNaturalist app, and don't tell anybody. Probably lose my job, But I have this app on my phone. It's called iNaturalist. It's a free app, you guys. And I can take a picture of pretty much anything in nature. And so it will identify it for me.
Excellent.
So I'll look at the suggestions. So if I go ahead and submit it, some person an entomologist or some person who has an expertise will go ahead and identify it for you. So I did this and I found out that they are snails. They're just normal snails that come on land. Now, I don't know why they decided to go into her shed, or why maybe it's all the wet conditions we've had, and she'll never have them again because that shed will never be moist enough again. I'm not sure, but yeah, with that iNaturalist, you guys, it'll put me out of business, put me and Kay out of business, right? Well, you still need us to tell you how to grow.
Yes, we still need you for sure. All right, guys, that went so fast. It always does. Time flies when you're having fun. Thank you, Kay, and thank you, Kelly, for coming on and being so festive and so fun. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And thank you so much for watching. And we will see you next time on Mid-American Gardener. Good night.